2a squared minus 6a. When we cross multiply our denominators, you multiply the denominators together. Cross multiply the other way. Bless you. 4a times a plus 16a. Now, once you have common denominators and you cross multiply, this is just a very simple combined like terms. Combined like terms across the numerator. So we know what the denominator is. Now, a lot of people, though, what do they make a mistake on? They forget to subtract. So change the sign on both of these. 2a squared minus 4a squared, and negative 6a and negative 16a, b. Questions on number 1? So I tried to give you a framework there at the beginning of the problem. First, is it multiplication division or is it addition subtraction? Once you answer that, then you move on. Okay, this was addition subtraction, so I need to have a common denominator. Can I factor the denominators? If they're factorable, then you factor them and you give the lonely fraction its better half. A plus 3 in the numerator, a plus 3 in the denominator. If you can't factor the denominators, then you multiply them together, so you multiply them together, that becomes your common denominator. And when you multiply the denominators by themselves, then you cross multiply to find your new numerators. Okay. Combine like terms in the numerator. I'll ask you again, any questions about number 1? Okay. Look at number 2. And on number 2, you're going to help me. Let's see. Victoria, what's first on number 2? Good. Hopefully you got tired of me saying this. Isolate the radical. So what's on the same side as the radical? A negative x. Add x to both sides. What do you get over here? 1 plus x, or if you want to put it in descending order. But what do you not get? You do not get 1x. Because 1 and x are not like terms. So you can't just say 1x. No, you got to keep them separate. All right. Good. Evelyn, what's next? Square them. Okay, I squared them. No. Evelyn, what does 3 squared mean? That means 3 times 3, right? What does 8 squared mean? 8 times 8. So x plus 1 squared means x plus 1 times x plus 1. Right? So you square the binomial, that means the binomial times itself. And use the claw. And this might be the easiest little claw problem that we've ever done. Combine like terms. Yep, Janisha. Where's 2? 1 times 1? When you claw, you're multiplying. X times x is x squared. X times 1 is 1x. Question? Celia, question? Oh, you ready to move on? Okay, hold on. So, when you see this binomial squared, you know you have to bring it over and claw it. Okay? Evelyn, what's next? Very good. Okay, let's go ahead and put this into standard form. And how are you going to do that? What's the easiest way to do it? Do what? Yeah, definitely. You could move all this stuff over here, but that's going to be I don't want to do all that. So what's the opposite of this? Yep. Good. So your new equation is 0 equals what? Good. What do you think? What I like to do, I always like to check and see if I can factor it real quick. Can you factor that? How'd you factor it? Good. That's impressive. If you see that, that's impressive. -1 and -1. Negative times a negative is positive. -1x and -1x gives you -2x. Good. Getting better at factoring. So the answer then would be +1. Can we check it on our graph? Who can do that? Who can show us graphing it? Okay, Latrell. Was it +2x? I can't remember. What do you think? Does the graph match our answer? Yeah. Can you analyze the graph to show us what the 0 is? Just in case. What if it's like 0.095? I want to know that it really is 1. Okay, good. So there's a 0 right there, and the 0 is at 1. So he did graph trace. You can also do, if you remember, analyze graph 0. And you have 2 options there. 2 options. Okay. Questions before we move on? Oh, you know what we have to look at, though? Before we get into today's worksheet? Right? From your homework, do you remember? What are the lengths of the sides of the trapezoid shown at the right if the perimeter... Now, a lot of y'all had Rollins for geometry, right? You had Mr. Rollins. So I know you know what a trapezoid is. I know you do. excuse me. These two are parallel, right? Okay, and these two are what? Congruent, yep. Okay. Let's see. If the perimeter, okay, so the extra information we have here is that P equals 17 centimeters. So you should start to think of an equation here. How do you find the perimeter of a trapezoid? Add up all the sides. So let's do that, okay? Let's start adding up all the sides. X plus 1 plus 2 radical x. Coach, do I have to put it in that specific order? No. It doesn't matter what order you put them in. Okay? So if you didn't put it in the exact same order, you could have still gotten it correct. Okay, now what? Combine like terms, x, 2x. What do you do with these? Add the coefficients. So 4 radical x. Okay. All right, we're getting somewhere. Now, what have we been talking about? What have I been telling you to do all week?
Isolate the radical.
Isolate the radical now. Okay. How do you want to do that first? What do you want to do first? We can subtract 1, that's fine. Subtract 1 first. Subtract 2x from both sides. I know y'all are smart enough to figure this out. I think you might have just felt a little lazy or something at the end of your worksheet. Can I do this? Can I do that? Is that okay with you? I'm just putting them in descending order. The 2x has to be negative. The 16 was positive. All right. Are we ready to square both sides yet? We still have to divide by 4. And if I divide one thing by 4, I have to divide everything by 4. So that's a common mistake there. Make sure you divide everything by 4. All right, square root of x equals negative what? Yep, negative 1/2 x plus 4. Now it's time. Now it's time. Okay, can I show you a trick now? You're probably going to hate me. You're probably going to hate me. This is an ACT trick. Do you really have to claw this out? Take your calculator. Don't kill me, please. Take your calculator and type this into your calculator. Don't kill me. Don't throw stones at me, please. Open up a new graph.
What, graphic?
We're going to graph it. Who's panicking over there? You can type in negative 1/2 x a million ways, but the easiest way is to type it in like that. You know, if you're really cool, you can use Control Divide to type in your fraction. However you want to do that. Okay, so this is an ACT trick. Do you have to spend all that time clawing it out? No. Just type it in as a binomial squared and graph it. And what did the, mine just disappeared. Uh-oh. I touched the screen. It's alright. Negative 1/2 x plus 4. What do we think? Do we have any zeros? Okay, what did you do? Did you analyze or did you graph trace? You did graph trace? See, sometimes graph trace takes too long for me. Your calculator doesn't go as fast as this, does it? Press up, and yeah, it is a 0. So, what's the answer? 8. Do you have to check for extraneous solutions? You only check when there's more than one answer. So you remember on Tuesday when we took the answer and we plugged them back, we had 2 answers and we plugged them both in and we checked to make sure the equation was true. You only have to do that if you have more than one answer. Now, x is 8. Before I box that up, is that the final answer? What's the question asked? Uh-oh. What are the lengths of the sides? Yeah, we got to plug this in then. So if x equals 8, that means this side is 8. This side is... What's the square root of 8? Oh, it's going to be something weird. If you write it in radical form, it's 2 radical 2. So you could say 4 radical 2 centimeters. Or this is the same. If you want to write it as a decimal, yep, 4 radical 2. Do you remember how to do that? Say 5.65. 5.66. Make sure you have your units though. Do you remember how to convert something to radical form? Factor. Yeah, factor, and then pull out the square root. I think Mr. Rollins taught you that last year. I know he and I have talked about that. But if you plug 8 in for x, you get 2 radical 8, right? And then how did he teach you? Did he say, he said factor the square root, factor the radical? Pull them out, yeah. The way I... Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Somebody got the exact same ringtone in another class. Make sure the phone is off, please. Yeah, turn it off. If there's 2 of them, you bring it outside. So you get 2 times 2. Y'all didn't do this with Mr. Rollins? Okay, with Ms. Jones. Okay. Either way, it's fine. You can either say 4 radical 2 centimeters, or you can say 5.66. Let's just double check that that actually is 5.66. Let's make sure. Yep. Yes. Okay. Great questions. 5, and I've been taught you what? Well, to be honest, there's 2 reasons. Well, really just 1 reason. You need to practice the claw. You're still kind of scared of stuff like this. Scared or lazy, it should be fast. Look, by the time you really need to get to the point where you can say, okay, it's going to be x squared, it's going to be -4 times -4 is 16, right? And a -4x and a -4x gives me -8x. You can do this in like 5 seconds once you get, I want you to get to that point. I want you to be able to do that in your head quick, like that. So that's the real reason I haven't told you the calculator trick, but it's okay. I'm okay with telling you. All right, any questions about that though? That's a great, I pretty much guarantee you'll see something like this on the test when we take this test. It'll take you about 90 seconds. About 90 seconds. Okay. All right, good warm-up. Take your warm-up, set it aside, look at today's notes in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, I'm not doing too much new or extra today. Really just a few little quirks to point out. Remember, isolate the radical. If it says x squared equals 8, the opposite of squared is what? Yeah, is radical or square root. You know, let's just make a quick note of all of these opposites. If it says the square root of x, the opposite of the square root is an exponent. of 2. We haven't done too many of these yet, but if it says x to the 2/3, what's the opposite of that? How do you cancel that out? The reciprocal. So you flip the fraction. And then they cancel out. One more. If I say x to the 5th root, so this is a small 5 right here, as the index, x to the 5th root. Yeah, you do a power or an exponent of 5. Okay. So those are our opposite operations questions, Janisha.
Right, you know how you did x to 2/3?
Yep.
Do you like cancel out 2?
X equals 8 to the 3/2.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to do probably just 2 or 3 problems together. Look at number 4. And I'm going to still work on a separate sheet of paper. I would encourage you to do the same, but you don't have to. I tried to give you a little bit extra room this time. So 2p minus 15, p minus 3. Okay. Number 4. All right, remember, like I said, stay focused. There's a good chance, I'm not making any promises, but there's a good chance tomorrow morning you're going to be sitting in your pajamas, drinking hot cocoa, eating your Lucky Charms, instead of sitting in math class. So, give me what you got today. Give it to me today. Tomorrow you're probably going to be sleeping in. Now, what happens if there's a square root on both sides? Here's the idea, right? We still follow this principle of isolate the radical, right? Same thing. If you have one side of the equation with a radical isolated, then you can square both sides. So I have both sides of the equation with a radical isolated. Over here, all there is the radical. Over here, all there is the radical. So I'm ready to go ahead and square both sides. Let me come back to that rule that I said, though. As long as one side of the equation has a radical isolated, you can square both sides. Cancel. Cancel. And what's left over? I'll tell you what's left over, an algebra 1 equation. Solve for p. Add 15 to both sides. Negative 3 plus 15. Can you do that in your head quickly? Positive 12. Negative 3 plus 15. Give the sign to the higher number from the higher number. P equals what? 6. Divide both sides by 2. Equals 6. Do you have to check for extraneous solutions?
No.
Why?
Because you did 1.
There's only one answer. I subtracted. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Hold on. Actually, hold on. And let me make a big deal out of this. Because I made a mistake in first period, too. Now, listen. Listen carefully. I am not a super genius. But if I make a 36 on my math ACT and I still make mistakes, don't you think that you might make mistakes on your math too and you need to double check? Everybody needs to make sure, including me, that you double check your work every single time. First period I made a mistake. Second period I make a mistake. If I'm making mistakes, I'm not like super PhD genius, but if I'm making mistakes, I'm pretty sure you might make one too. Let's double check our work every time. Every time. Okay, let's erase this stuff here. So I'm adding 15 to both sides in this step. So P plus 12. There we go. What did I do in this step? I added 15 to both sides. Now subtract P from both sides. JJ, you were right. I apologize. Everyone was like, no, 6. You were right.
Hold on, what did you say? Subtract P from both sides.
We all right? You need to see the intermediate step. Subtract P from both sides. P equals what? Sorry, I'm doing college solving. We don't need to be doing college solving just yet. Go ahead and write out the steps. Okay, same question. Do we have to check for extraneous solutions? No. Why? There's only one answer. If there's more than one, we got to check. We got to plug them back in and make sure that the equation's true for each answer. All right, let's do just one or two more here. Go back and what was that other one? Take your paper and flip it over. Hard work. Number 13. Yeah, 13. X minus 6 equals radical 2x minus 13. Let's see if I can remember. What is it, 13? Yeah. Okay. Okay, just to practice here. Okay, LaRonda, what's first? There you go. I know you're thinking it's a trick question. Coach Matee's trying to trick me. But isolate the radical. The radical's already isolated, so let's go ahead, square both sides. What do you want to do? Huh? X squared minus 12x, good, plus 36. It's okay. If you still want to write it all out, please do. I definitely think you should. I definitely think you should. Only do this. You'll start to see a pattern the more you do it. You're like, okay, square that. Okay, put these together, kind of, and double it. That's what my mind thinks when I see those. Put them together, double it. So put this together, negative 6x, double it, negative 12x. That's what my mind, I've trained myself to think now when I do those problems. But so if I'm looking at that, I know it's x squared, right? And I know it's plus 16. Put them together and double it, negative 8x. Negative 4x, double it, negative 8x. And I think I know what the problem is. I think we just need reps with that. That's all I think it is. So I have some ideas. Same thing with factoring. You know how to factor, but you're just not fast enough at it yet. So I think what I'm going to start doing is once a week, do like a 15 problem quiz. It'll just be 10 minutes. And it'll just be factoring and clawing. Just to help you get fast with it. Exactly. And then when you take the ACT and you have to do it 20 or 30 times, you'll be able to crank them up. Say what now?
In chemistry, we had them problems, 100 problems at the same time.
Yep. You get good at it though, don't you? You get tired of it, but you know how to do it. Fast. See, you look at this and you say, oh, okay, no problem. And you factor in about 5 seconds. That's where you need to get to. You look at this and you see 49 and you think, oh, wait. 7 times 7. Does that give you 14? You know it then. You don't have to pick up your calculator and graph this. You can factor this. What about the signs? Both negative. If you get reps on it, then you start to see stuff. You're like, okay, you see it. You just look at it and okay, yep. So the answer, if the factor is x minus 7, the answer is. But here's the real question. If you're really good, you can picture what the graph looks like. A parabola, the point, the 0 is at 7, but the minimum, yep, the minimum is at 7 too, the 0 and the minimum. What do we call the point of the parabola?
The vertex?
The vertex is at 7, opens up or down?
Oh, so it's positive.
If it's positive, it opens up. Good. So use all of every part of your brain, you know. Don't just calculate, visualize too. Questions on 13? Okay, reps. I'm going to be passing around a sheet. I'm going to try to type it up real quick. Pass around a sheet that says, we now have a class set of textbooks. At any time, if you'd like to check one out, you are more than welcome to. I'm going to type up a sheet that says, I know about the textbooks. I know I can check one out if I want to. I'm going to have you sign. Okay. today's date is square root of 25.